Alright, so we've talked in the past about a few iconic watches. The Omega Speedmaster, the Rolex Sea Dweller, the Breitling Navitimer. These are some of the most well-known, iconic and most loved watches ever. But there's one common thread: they're expensive. It often seems that to own an icon, the cost of entry equates to thousands if not tens of thousands of pounds. But that's not always true. There's one watch that's just as iconic, just as cool if not cooler, and can almost be classed as disposable. This is the Casio F91W, one of the most recognisable and legendary watches of all time. In this video, we'll take a look at what makes the watch so iconic, go through its specs, and see how it wears, all to see why it's a worthy addition to any watch collection. No, it's not mechanical, it's not even made of metal, and some wouldn't even call it a proper watch. But it tells the time, and more, and if we're honest, it has a cool factor that few watches can match. It might not be a proper watch to some, but it's unequivocally an icon. With the cost of entry so low, anyone can play. So if, like me, you were born in the 80s or the 90s and you think of the word watch, you'll probably think of something that looks like this. A plastic watch from Japan with a digital screen that for many was likely their first watch, something that could almost be considered a toy. But there's so much more here than meets the eye. Let's talk about it. So the F91W was introduced in 1989 as a successor to the original F87W. It's been in constant production for 34 years, with Casio producing over 3 million units every year since 2011, which is a big deal. This makes it the most sold watch the world has ever seen, alone making it iconic. It's a wonder of modern mass production, basically making it accessible to anyone, offering a set of functions or complications that would basically set you back tens of thousands of pounds if you wanted them in a mechanical alternative. So the watch comes in with a total diameter of 34.2mm, a thickness of 8.3mm, and a lug-to-lug dimension of 38mm. So on the face of it, it's small. A traditional round watch of similar dimensions would look positively tiny on all but the smallest wrists. Due to its integrated design style and matte black aesthetic, the watch somehow has universal appeal. The width of the strap is 22mm, which across watches as a whole is quite large. The strap on this Tudor Black Bay 58, for example, is 20mm. It also features a predominantly square face, which just by the nature of its shape makes the watch appear larger. The diagonal dimension corner to corner comes in at 37mm. The inner lug width, the part where the strap actually attaches to the case, is 18mm. The weight, including the strap, comes in at a featherweight 21 grams. The case is made entirely from plastic resin. It's black in colour and all of matte finish, so definitely low key. Being plastic, there's absolutely no form of traditional finishing techniques. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. So I mentioned the word integrated. This relates to a style of watch design that features a case that flows seamlessly into the bracelet. Now, some people will call me insane for mentioning these two watches in the same breath, but the integrated style has been immortalised by the Royal Oak. A watch from Audemars Piguet that's considered by many to be, if not the greatest watch of all time, definitely the greatest sports watch of all time. So the F91W is in good company design-wise, a design that's increasingly popular today despite being a child of the 70s. Despite the lack of luxurious materials and traditional finishing, the design of the F91W does feature some considered detailing. The case design, although one piece, is made up of varying stages and angles. The mid-case element is 5.5mm thick, stepping up and inward to the screen cover, which has a height in profile of about 1mm. The final 1.5mm are made up by the case back. The sides of the case feature 4 protruding elements around each of the pushers. Although we only have 3, Casio has retained the overall symmetry by including a redundant outcrop on the top right hand side of the case. Being one piece and all plastic, there's absolutely no play or creaking when in hand. A final point to note is the inclusion of drilled lugs, making it easier to remove the strap if desired. When it comes to the bezel, well, the watch really doesn't have one in the true sense of the word. The final step in the case construction surrounds the outer edge of the screen. Instead of a traditional watch face with a crystal, we get a plastic screen cover. It's rectangular in shape with chamfered edges and corners. It measures 27mm wide and 23.5mm top to bottom. Other than the integrated design, the screen cover represents the most iconic part of the watch. From the edge working in, we're first met with a blue border followed by a thin line of silver. Both of these borders trace the shape of the screen cover. We have the word Casio on the top left with the F91W model number to the right. After this, we have a horizontal blue line with the words light and alarm chronograph underneath. Next, we have another thin border line, this time outlining the actual LCD screen. This is in the same silver colour as the outer border and Casio text. Below this, we have more text. From the left, it reads light, alarm on off /24 hour. Down further, we have 2 more blue horizontal lines. These sit above text that reads water resists on the left and right sides respectively. In the middle, we have the letters WR in red, again standing for water resistant, which are outlined by a blue border. This being a digital watch, we don't have a traditional crown. Instead, we get 3 function pushers, 2 on the left and 1 on the lower right. They're made from steel, each with a smooth satin finish. So the dial is obviously an LCD screen. This sits below the screen cover, centrally located within the case. The screen itself measures 19 by 9.8mm and features a monotone display with black numbers, letters and icons. The screen can be illuminated by pressing and holding the top left pusher. This emits a green LED from the left hand side. It's nothing spectacular, the screen isn't backlit, but it does the job. The caseback is made from a single piece of stainless steel, the largest steel element on the entire watch. Its outer shape traces the outline of the case and features a raised circle at centre. It has a brush finish and includes engravings on the raised circular section. From top to bottom, these read Casio F91W and F91W. Stainless steel back, water resistant and made in China. The caseback is attached to the watch by 4 screws. The watch is supplied with a basic black rubber strap in 2 pieces. On the top side, each piece has a stamped design. The first inch closest to the case has been stamped to mimic the links of a steel bracelet. They're somewhat reminiscent of the links on a Tissot PRX. The rest of the strap design consists of a stamped inner line. I guess you'd call it an elongated rectangle with rounded ends. The longer strap section features 12 adjustment positions. At the lug end, the strap is 22mm wide, tapering down to 15.5mm. It's held to the case and clasp with spring bars. Finally, on the shorter piece, we have a rubber minder loop to secure excess strap length. When it comes to the clasp, we have a basic buckle and tang made from black resin. Both have a semi-gloss finish with the top side embossed with Casio wording. It's also notable that the clasp can be removed from the strap should you wish to replace it. So the watch features a quartz chronograph movement, specifically a 593 module, and includes a host of useful complications. The time can be displayed in 12 or 24-hour formats, showing hours, minutes and seconds. It can also be set up to beep every hour if desired. We have a single set alarm function that lasts for 20 seconds when active, as well as an annual calendar that auto-adjusts for shorter months. It won't, however, adjust for leap years. This will have to be adjusted manually. Next up, we have a 100th of a second stopwatch that can also time lapse or split times. Although heavily marketed as water resistant, this is somewhat false advertising. The watch is lab rated to 30 meters, but really it's only splash resistant. It's not recommended to shower while wearing it, and certainly don't go swimming with it. In regards to accuracy, the watch is rated to run no worse than plus or minus 30 seconds per month. This is significantly better than most mechanical watches, where even COSC certified chronometers are only rated to run no worse than -4 to +6 seconds per day. But it's not as good as some high-end quartz movements from the likes of Grand Seiko. These are rated to run no worse than +10 seconds per year. Still, function-wise, you're getting a lot for your money. On the wrist, the F91W wears extremely well, again appearing larger than its 34mm diameter would suggest. Here you can see it against a selection of other watches for a visual reference. On the left we have a Casio B2100 or Casio. It has a dimension of 45mm, a lug-to-lug of 48mm and a thickness of 11.9mm. On the right we have a Smith's PRS 25. It has a dimension of 36mm, a lug-to-lug of 43.5mm and a thickness of 11.5mm. The 36mm Smith's is considered a traditionally sized watch. Against it, the F91W has a greater presence on wrist in regards to overall size. Its integrated design, along with its matte black aesthetic, visually accentuate its lines, making it wearable on much larger wrists. So when it comes to price, watches really don't get much cheaper than this. The F91W has a retail price of just £11, which is just insane. It's cheaper than most watch straps. If you'd like one in another colour or made from metal, then Casio has you covered. Model variations in metal are available for around £30 and coloured plastic ones for around £20. There's no question that the F91W is the most accessible watch available today, especially considering its brand heritage and feature set. So what's not to like about the Casio F91W? It might get mistaken for a toy. Yes, it's an icon, but its build quality isn't exactly bulletproof. I owned this watch in gold and wore it every day for 6 months, and the lug just fell off. Not the pin, the whole lug assembly just fell off the case. It's not as do-it-all as you think. The water-resistant marketing is a bit of a white lie. It's not an all-rounder for all tasks. It's size. I know I've harped on about how well it wears, and for me it does, but my wrist is somewhat on the smaller side of average. If you have a wrist over 7 inches, you may not agree. So what about all that's good? Its iconic design. The F91W as an object is one of the most recognisable and well-known watches ever created. Its integrated design is both retro and modern at the same time, looking just as good today as it always has, and will continue to look great in another 50 years. Cool factor. Watch snobbery is a real thing, but this is cool regardless of your wider opinions on watches. Sure, a Patek Philippe minute repeater is cool due to its complexity and engineering, but it needs to be explained, which by definition isn't cool. Sure, a Patek is better than this in every single way, of course it is, but I guarantee the F91W will get you more passing comments, especially from non-watch people. It's accessibility. Not everyone can justify a Rolex, a Tudor or an Omega, but almost everybody can afford this. The F91W and watches like it create a point of entry to the watch collecting hobby that's accessible to all, and that's nothing but a good thing. So what's the verdict? Should you buy one? Well, yeah, watch buying is a deeply personal thing, And normally when we do these reviews, we leave it up to you guys to decide. But with this, I genuinely think everyone, watch lover or not, should buy one at some point in their lives. Some will see it as nothing more than a toy. Others will think it's the best watch ever made. But either way, it's unquestionably an icon. It sits just as well in a collection of Pateks and APs as it does on the wrist of someone who doesn't care at all about watches. It might not be a watch in the traditional sense of the word, it's not soulful or handcrafted, but it has charm, personality and coolness in spades. It doesn't take itself too seriously, it's a joy to wear and most importantly can be enjoyed by all. Anything that opens up this hobby to more people is a good thing in my book, and for that reason alone deserves its legendary status. The F91W proves that watch collecting need not be expensive, and true watch icons are available to all. Guys, thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on the Casio F91W? Was it your first watch? Would you buy one in 2023? And do you think it's a true watch icon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, please be sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next review, and we'll catch you in the next video.